Hey there. One of the big questions I've gotten from people is, what is strategic year? Why did you choose for this to be the first thing that you did in this business? If you don't know me, my name's Lee Taylor. Well, I'll tell you a little bit of story of how this idea and this concept came to be. I'm someone who loves hearing people's dreams, their vision. I love big, hairy, audacious goals, things that people think, can you actually do that? And even just talking to young leaders who just want to do something big, who want to make an impact, do something that really matters. I had the incredible opportunity to lead young. I was given the opportunity to be the headmaster at a school in my mid-20s, one of those points where you're thinking, who am I to be doing this? And so I did what most of us do. I did it all. I said, hey, I'm going to dive in. I'm going to be all personal development. I'm going to learn everything I possibly can, all the best stuff. I'm going to work like a maniac. Half of the time that's out of love and passion for what you're doing, and probably the other half or more out of fear that you're going to be exposed for being a total fraud. So I tried productivity. I've tried simplicity. I've tried efficiency. I've tried it all and trying to do it all. And so I would go from this cycle of focused and passionate and seeing just big things happen quickly to honestly the other end of that of exhausted and burned out and just feeling terrible. And the big problem was it was working. Well, it was working enough. I was seeing, getting a lot of praise, pats on the back. Hey, Lee, we're so excited to see what's going on. You see the growth. I was excited about it. It was fun to see that happening. But there was also this thing inside of me, this nagging understanding of this wasn't going to work forever. I knew what it was doing to me. I felt like the bucket that I have was just being emptied as far as this passion and energy. And then I had another problem. My time and energy were becoming less and less because I didn't just have a big vision for what I wanted to do at work and with my career. I had even a bigger vision of the man I wanted to be, the husband I wanted to be, the dad I wanted to be, the spiritual life I wanted to have. And what happened was the plate that was available was getting smaller and smaller. I could do all that when I had all the time and all the energy, although it was still pretty much taking me out. But as that was getting less, I knew there was a crisis point coming. I knew the old way wasn't an option. I couldn't do what I had done then going forward. So for me, that frustration, I started looking at as many books as I could find. Of course, that's one of the things that I would do. Have tons of conversations with people that I respected, asking questions like this. So what do you do? And for me, it came to this tipping point. And you've probably been there, a crisis point where you knew, all these ideas and thoughts. I had so many journal entries, so much stuff that I had cut out of magazines or online or whatever, just trying to put it together. So how do you do it differently? And at that moment, a book came across, some of you may have read it, called Essentialism. And it was one of those perfect moments of all these ideas, all this stuff that I'd put down. And you just read a book and you're like, this is it. He encapsulated so much of that, of this idea of less but better. And this theme that has always run through my head since then. I'd heard about working, you can't work harder, you got to work smarter. And I remember being intentional. I want to work smarter and not harder. But that's one thing to say. It's another thing to do. And so for me, I knew there had to be clarity. And I knew clarity was important. I heard people talking about, hey, you got to have clarity about where you're going and how you're going to get there. But I only tried to get clarity kind of in the midst of the storm. I'd stop here and there. I got to get clear about where we're going and what we're doing. Or honestly, a lot of times whenever I was overwhelmed, whenever I just was feeling like it was all crashing in, well, then I'm going to get clear about what has to happen and what matters and what doesn't matter. If clarity is not a priority, it won't happen. You can't work smarter without a clear understanding of what it is that you're trying to do. It happens out of intentionality. And through the course of looking into a lot of things, listening to a lot of stuff, talking to people, trying to look at research, I kept seeing there's these themes that kept coming up, that certain people were really great about stopping at the right times to get perspective, to get clarity. I think a lot of times they get confidence. It sounded like a lot of times it was for them getting confidence about, so what has to happen now? Not, I always knew, so Lee, where do you want to be in 10 years or even a year? So Lee, what are your goals for this year? And that would just become overwhelming. I'd make this crazy long list and it just could be defeating over time. So I kept seeing this thing about 90-day plans and quarterly reviews, and I just said, I've got to break it down. So I started getting more and more strategic about how do I stop at the right times? How do I put these pieces in place that, for me, make me answer the right questions, make me go through a strategic process so that I'm not, always turning off a different path, going a different way, but that I feel confident about where it is I'm going, that we can still see results, but not at the cost and the expense of everything else. And as I got better and better at this, the results were amazing. I was doing less, but the results were still there. We were still growing. Things were still improving. A lot of times they were even doing better because I wasn't doing so many things. But for me, what I came to find out was this is not just a decision, I'm just going to do less things. You hear people talk about focus and all of this stuff. Well, the piece that doesn't come a lot of time is, so what do I do? Okay, I go sit at a coffee shop. What questions do I ask? What does a good plan look like? What does a good process look like? How often should I do it? And so for me, that's where Strategic Year was born. I have a passion, like a deep soul passion for seeing leaders get clear about what it is that matters to them, where it is they're trying to go, and then to get laser-like focus, a strategic process to choose what do we have to do now. Not forever, for the next 90 days, I want to know exactly what needs to happen. What are the clear steps that we can take? And to also take time to say, okay, and make note, work isn't the only thing you're doing. So how do I make sure I'm becoming the man or the woman that I want to be? And then I'm strategic about that. Because so many times when we step back, we honestly get a lot more forgiveness of ourselves, understanding like, hey, I'm making big progress. And we understand too, I better make sure I'm doing the right things because if my only answer is just to work more and more hours, that's not a great solution. So Strategic Year was born. And so I'm inviting you to go on this journey with me. Somewhere on this video down below, you can sign up. We're going to have videos where I'll be talking through how do you put this stuff more and more to practice. Practical tools. How do I stop to get clear about the right questions that I need to answer, the right stuff that you need to know, and then coming up to those key points, whether that be monthly or quarterly, real tools. So Lee, how do I become more strategic at these points of stopping, of getting clear, of making a plan going forward? I hope you'll sign up. I hope you'll join me on this journey. It's going to be an amazing one. I can't wait to see, one, where it is that you want to go, and then see, two, when you have clarity, when you have a strategic approach to what you're doing, what can you accomplish? So I hope you'll join me on this journey.